Welcome to Townsends Wilderness Homestead. It's another frigid day here. Today we are working with cow horn, the plastic of the 18th century. This was an inexpensive material to use. It could be molded and shaped into combs and brushes and spoons and cups. A person that works with horn, and that's any kind of horn, ram horn or cow horn or goat horn or even antler, they were called horners. And horners were typically found around slaughterhouses or wherever there was a large population of cattle that were being slaughtered or dehorned even. So you wouldn't find them out in the wilderness. They would usually be towards where their material is abundant. Horn is a material that has been used all throughout mankind's history. All the way back to the Egyptians, there's even inscriptions of horn and people working with horn. And we don't find a lot of existing examples because it's a biodegradable material. It doesn't last through, the archaeological digs. You don't find it because it just rots away. And it's been used all throughout mankind, like I said, even through the 18th century when horn production was almost at its height. Everything was made out of horn. About the 1920s though, horn manufacturers started investing in the plastics industry. They kind of foresaw what was coming and invested wisely. Nowadays though, horn has taken a turn from the cheap, easily used material to the luxury item. High-end items like cufflinks or backings to really fancy brushes, jewelry. So when we talk about cow horns in the 18th century and you see this shape, one of the things that always comes to mind is the powder horn, used for carrying your black powder for shooting your muskets and rifles. It keeps it nice and dry because of the properties of it, kind of like the plastic. And how they would do that is they would cut the end off and they'd put a plug in it. And then this end, they would make a little hole and they'd put a little stopper in it. And then they'd throw a strap on it so they could carry their powder and always keep it by their side and keep it dry. The cool thing about powder horns was they were usually made by the people in the wilderness or the people who were shooting them. And they also did a lot of decoration. Scrimshaw, they would make little scratches and decorations in there and then fill them in with ink. So you get a lot of historical documentation and maps that were put onto powder horns. And it makes them all a very, very unique piece, but also a part of history and a record of that history. Today, we are going to make a comb out of this cow horn, and we're going to cut a chunk off the back end of it. So we've got this flattened out, and the heating process, it charred everything and got all that chard scraped off, and now we're just making the teeth. I haven't done a whole lot of work with horn, and when I was younger I tried, the softening process, boiling it in water, but water only gets to 212 degrees. This horn, we have to get it to about 350 degrees. So that's where hot oil or just an open flame works the best. The open flame, you get a little bit of char on it, but that comes right off and the natural beauty comes right back out. So I like working with this material. If you've ever worked with plastics or anything, it kind of has that feel as the tools are cutting on it, but it does have fiber in it. But I like it, and I like how it buffs out, and no two horns are the same. They all have different markings and colorings in them, and it's a really beautiful material to work with. The tools I'm using are very, very simple tools, just saws and little chisels and files. And to polish it up, we'll use some brick dust. We'll go over that later. But it's a really nice material to work with once you learn how to heat it, and it's a really, really cool medium for different art pieces too. So you can get really creative with it. When I flattened this, I just used 2 boards and put them in a vise, but if you're working at home, really you don't need a whole lot of fancy tools, just a couple of boards and a little bit of weight, that'll flatten it out nice. A vise works really well, but you notice I'm not using a vise or anything. Here in the, on the homestead in the cabin, I'm just using the edge of the table. Just have a good grip on it. You don't need a whole lot of really fancy tools to get started in this. As you progress, of course, there's plenty of very specific tools for doing this, and lots of techniques that you can learn along the way. This is just a really good introductory video into working with horn, the plastic of the 18th century. So there are some downsides though. It can be very brittle. If you have a spoon, it can get wavy, or if you get into something hard with that spoon, you can break it. It can delaminate, which this horn has all these different layers and fibers all kind of stacked on top of each other. And over time, those can come apart. It is biodegradable. So, lasting examples from centuries and centuries ago, you just don't find them because when it goes into the ground, it completely disintegrates. Unlike plastics today. Here we have our horn. It's all cut out. We have all the teeth cut. We have it all scraped down so it's pretty much smooth. We are almost done. The last step is to give it just a little bit more of a shine, a little bit more of a polish. To use that, we are going to use some ground up brick. If you've seen in one of our earlier videos, we made bricks right here on the homestead. Well, the ones that failed, they didn't go to waste. We can grind those up and use them to make powder that we can polish things like our horn comb. One of the things that I really like about working with horn is that no two pieces are the same. They all have their own different color variations and striations and the different shading in it. And I love the translucence of it. You can hold it up to the light and really see all the colors pop through. So what I have here is a spoon mold, and we will use that in an upcoming video. And to heat the horn for that, we were going to use a hot oil method as opposed to the fire. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. Well, it was so nice to be out here at the cabin, on the homestead, working with horn, a really cool material, and just hearing the fire crackling. Wonderful, wonderful experience. And I love working with my hands. If you want to see more of the projects that I do, make sure you check out this carving a leather wallet video. And thank you for watching.